I'm running a little late. I would tell you where I was, but I'm not going to do that because then you know I was in the bathroom. So we'll just leave that mystery. But I was trying to figure out where we were, and it looks like we were in Proverbs 15, but I think we got down to 18. I think the section that kind of dealt with the heart. So 19 is the way of the lazy man is like a hedge of thorns. The way of the upright is a highway. The lazy man makes things hard. The upright man makes things easy. A wise son makes his father glad, but a foolish man despises his mother. So this is, again, like just a good example. Like, this verse is like a prime example of how the Hebrew poetry works and how you can't take these things so specifically because it's the contrast that is, they don't rhyme like we rhyme. It's a contrast. So it's the contrasting of wise versus foolish. The father glad despises the mother. And so it's not that, only fathers are glad or only mothers get despised, but they do it for the contrast. They contrast all the thoughts when they can. So again, foolish people make all their parents, upset. And a wise son makes all the parents happy, right? Folly is joy to him who is destitute of discernment, but a man with understanding walks uprightly. I'm laughing because in my Bible, I have #wheelchair racing. I'm just thinking about, So back in high school, we used to hang out. My rich friend, had a house overlooking Lake Washington. And it was on the steep hill, kind of on the northwest side of the lake. And we had this wheelchair that we had acquired from somewhere. And we would take it to the top of the hill and we would ride 2 people on the wheelchair down to the lake. One guy in the chair and then me, I was on the back, typically riding on the back of the wheelchair. And we would get going pretty fast. We had to have been going 30 miles an hour at some point on this wheelchair. All that to say, folly is joy to him who is destitute of discernment. You can do some stupid stuff and it's a whole lot of fun if you don't have a brain. And that's kind of where we were at back then. But without counsels, plans go awry, but in the multitude of counselors, they are established. So here's something I think is really great wisdom. And this is a commonly quoted proverb. In the multitude of counselors, there's an establishment, right? This is a great example of how, even with our church, though I'm the pastor, and though I may run things and make many of the decisions in the church, I'm often bouncing things off of many people. I've always been that way. Even if in the end of the day, I'm going to make the call, but I'm going to be bouncing stuff off of a bunch of people to hear their thoughts and their thoughts and their thoughts, because it's that multitude of counselors that helps you see things you weren't seeing and think things you weren't thinking. So it's good wisdom. A man has joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season, how good it is. Again, it's just talking about a word spoken in due season, how good it is. It's just talking about, rightly spoken words, wisdom shared, words of comfort. When you say the right stuff and it just hits, it feels good. The way of life winds upward for the wise, that he may turn away from hell below. The Lord will destroy the house of the proud, but he'll establish the boundary of the widow. He's even got his eye out for the widow. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to the Lord, but the words of the pure are pleasant. So here we've talked about a little bit earlier about the wicked, but here he is. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination. He who is greedy for gain troubles his own house, but he who hates bribes will live. So again, greedy for gain could be by itself, but then he who hates bribes. So then there's a hinting here. And this is, again, how that poetry works to explain both sides, that the bribe is money received in an illegitimate way, and he who is greedy for gain will likely go down paths where they cut corners and do things in an illegitimate way, and therefore it's going to trouble his whole house when they start doing things that aren't legal. The heart of the righteous studies how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours forth evil. So again, wise people are slow to speak. This will be an ongoing theme in the proverb that James does a very good job of just succinctly putting it there for us. Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to wrath. So the heart of the righteous, which the innermost parts, it's a deep down concern in the Hebrew. It is going to study, to really calculate out, how do I need to respond to this person? But a wicked person, a fool, someone who's not wise, they just pour it out. Their mouth just runs. Doesn't necessarily mean that talking a lot is bad, but it's when you talk a lot without thinking about what you're saying, then we've got a problem. Makes me think of our Job study on Sunday nights. The Lord is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayer of the righteous. That's where we were crossing over, I think Proverbs 28 was it, where it says the prayer of the wicked is an abomination, right? God doesn't listen to their prayers. He hears them. He hears everything. But he doesn't take it to heart. But he hears the prayer of the righteous. Our prayers he hears, and he hears it in that way in which he does respond. He always responds, but he responds accordingly to what he knows you need. The light of the eyes rejoices the heart, and a good report makes the bones healthy. Once again, it's kind of like that thing with the word of the mouth, the idea of just of good news and good reports. And, it's sometimes just good to hear good news. I got a nice card in the mail yesterday. Someone was just thanking us for the church and what we do and what Nicole contributes and what I contribute. And it's like, you know what? It's just words. But every now and then, it's just nice to hear something nice. And it's not like we don't hear nice things, but someone took the time. They made a card. Like those things of thoughtfulness just kind of warms you up. The ear that hears the rebukes of life will abide among the wise, but he who disdains instruction despises his own soul, but he who heeds rebuke gets understanding. The fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility. Here's another fear of the Lord one. These all go well together. They're all good. But the fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom. So not only is the fear of the Lord the beginning of all knowledge, and the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom, and that there is a strong confidence in the fear of the Lord, which we got back in chapter 14, but the fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom. Those who fear the Lord, who reverence him, honor him, and respect him, they're going to instruct others in wisdom. It should be something natural. And I do believe that born-again believers with the Holy Spirit working inside of them, they are naturally passing on the things of God to other people, whether it's to the lost or helping instructing their other brothers and sisters. They want to instruct people in the ways of God. And before honor is humility. All by itself, that's pretty good. Before we're going to be honored, we've got to be humble. So there's just a little bit through the Proverbs from today. All good stuff, all good one-liners, no long drawn-out verses this morning. We've made it to chapter 16. We're moving right along. All right.